One day, Sir Topham Hatt came to the sheds to visit Percy. He had some exciting news. I have invited a famous artist to paint a picture called The Spirit of Sodor. It will be put on display at Knapford Station, he boomed. Percy, I want you to collect the artist from Brendam Docks and show him the most beautiful places. Yes, sir, said Percy. Thomas was excited for his friend, but Percy was worried. What's the spirit of Sodor? Asked Percy. It's everything that is special about the island, he puffed. No one knows the island better than you, he added. And no one loves it more than you. You're just the engine for the job. Percy felt better. He would show the famous artist somewhere very special, somewhere that was the spirit of Sodor. Soon Percy arrived at Brendam. The famous artist was there waiting for him. Percy thought he looked very important. The famous artist climbed on board Percy. I want to see the spirit of Sodor, he said. Please show me somewhere special. Yes, sir, puffed Percy happily, and he steamed out of the docks as fast as he could. Percy puffed across the island. Somewhere special, he chuffed. At last, Percy came to Shen Valley. There you are, sir, cried Percy happily. The spirit of Sodor. The famous artist had a very long look. Too green, he said. I want you to show me somewhere special. Percy was surprised. He thought Shen Valley was very special. But the artist was very famous and very important. Maybe Shen Valley isn't special after all. Percy set off again. He would show the famous artist somewhere else special. Percy took the artist to the viaduct. Here you are, sir. The spirit of Sodor, he beamed. But the famous artist wasn't impressed. Too tall, he said. This made Percy very cross. Then Percy took him to the windmill. The windmill was one of his favourite places to visit. Now this surely has to be the spirit of Sodor, he groaned. However, the famous artist, once again, wasn't impressed. Too round, said the famous artist. Percy was about to give up, when an idea flew into his funnel. Percy took the famous artist to Knapford Station. Here you are, sir, said Percy proudly. Isn't this the spirit of Sodor? Too busy, the famous artist sighed. Why, I do believe there is nothing special to paint on the island at all. Percy was so cross his boiler bubbled, and he went as red as James. Everywhere on Sodor is special, peeped Percy. And so are the people and the children and the engines. They are all special. Then he wheezed some steam. This made the famous artist get covered in water. I want to see Sir Topham Hatt right away, the famous artist cried. Percy was sure he was in trouble now. Sir Topham Hatt came to Knapford at once. I have found the perfect scene to paint, cried the famous artist. What is it? asked Sir Topham Hatt. I am going to paint Percy. Bless my brothers, Percy gasped. You want to paint me? Percy is honest, hard-working and helpful, and he is not afraid to speak his mind. He is truly the spirit of Sodor, said the famous artist, and Sir Topham Hatt agreed. Later that night, the painting was shown to the engines. Percy loved the painting. So did Thomas. I told you you were the best engine for the job. Thomas smiled, and Percy smiled too. He was very proud to be the spirit of Sodor. Molly is one of the Fat Controller's newest engines. She primarily works as a goods engine, often delivering coal around the island. She even pulls passenger trains from time to time. She is a nervous but kind-hearted engine, and has made firm friendships with the others, Percy especially, as the little engine always brightens her day. But not everyone had warmed up to her kind nature. Who does she think she is? Sniffed Gordon up the station one morning, treating us like fools and pretending she had a special train. I don't need to put any kind of train for people to see I'm special. Thomas, who was waiting at the other platform with Annie and Clarabelle, whistled crossly at Gordon. Don't be so rude, Gordon. Every engine is special, regardless of what train they pull. We don't need to do something grand to be really useful. Ah, what would you know? You've never even pulled the express. The only special passenger train you pulled is the brass band. You even left one of them behind, chuckled Gordon, and he puffed away grandly. Later, Gordon was filling up on coal at the coaling plant. He was just resting when Molly chuffed in with some empty trucks. Good afternoon, Gordon. How's your day going? She asked cheerfully. Gordon looked at Molly's train and scoffed. Pulling empties again, are we, Molly? Oh, well, I suppose someone has to do it. Leave the special trains to us, really useful engines. But delivering coal it is, Molly stuttered, before she was interrupted by Gordon wheeshing away. She felt very hurt. She couldn't understand what she had done wrong. Molly brought her coal trucks to fill the bunker at Tidmar's sheds. She sat sadly in the siding as the workmen shoveled the coal in the bunker. Then she heard a whistle. Hello, Molly, peeped Percy as he puffed in to shunt some trucks. You don't look very happy. Is something the matter? Molly explained about what Gordon had said to her. He's just a big bossy boiler. You're a very special engine. You're the only yellow engine on the Fat Controller's railway. Molly gave a small smile. She knew Percy would help make her feel better, but she still felt a little dejected by Gordon's comments. The next day, Gordon was chuffing along with the express, making perfect time as usual. He was thundering up his own hill, puffing as hard as he could, his cheeks a bright crimson. Then there came a bang, and a blast of cold air shot through Gordon's firebox. Your fire bars have collapsed, Gordon. We'll have to stop the train, called Gordon's fireman as his driver applied his brakes. Botheration, shuddered Gordon as he drew to a halt halfway up the hill. At Wellsworth, Molly was waiting for Percy to shunt some vans onto her goods train when the station master ran up. Gordon's lost his fire and has broken down on the hill. Do you think you could take him on the express, Molly?" Me?" stuttered Molly. She felt her boiler run cold. Percy whistled cheerfully at her. "Now's your chance to prove Gordon wrong. I know you're strong enough for the job." That filled Molly with determination, and with her firebox flaring, she set off up the hill. Gordon sat cold and defeated on the hill. The passengers were complaining bitterly from the coaches. Molly then pulled up alongside the big blue engine. "Oh dear, don't tell me they sent you to rescue me," Gordon sniffed. "As a matter of fact," puffed Molly, "I will be rescuing you. And I'll be taking this train to the end of the line too." Gordon guffawed grandly. "Go ahead and try." So Molly ran round and coupled in front of the train. With a blast of her whistle, she began to crawl slowly up the hill. Her driver dropped sand to help her grip as she began to feel the strain of the train. "You can't do it. You can't do it," grumbled Gordon from behind. "Yes, I can. Yes, I can," groaned Molly as she pulled with all her might. Gordon was amazed at her strength. "You're doing it! You're doing it!" he called with spirit. But Molly had no steam to answer as she struggled over the top. At last, with one last effort, Molly got Gordon and the express over the hill. The passengers cheered and clapped as she coasted down the other side smoothly. When they finally reached the last station, Molly gave a sigh of relief. She was exhausted. "That was marvellous!" cried Gordon. "Thank you for rescuing me. I'm sorry for being so rude. It seems my special train got the better of me." Molly beamed from buffer to buffer. She felt she had finally made a friend in Gordon. She was even happier when the Fat Controller rewarded her with a new coat of paint. He even offered to have her pull the express more often, which she respectfully declined. "As grateful as I am, I think I'll stick to my trucks and light passenger work. Those are my special trains," she said happily. Fabian the tank engine loves working on Thomas's branch line. He has made many new friends, such as Bertie, Harold, and even Terence. He often meets Mavis when he collects stone from the quarry, and the two get along like a house on fire. But there was another diesel on the branch line Fabian hadn't met yet. One morning, Fabian was waiting with a passenger train at the junction when he heard an unfamiliar horn in the distance. He was rather surprised to see a long green diesel rail car pull up at the other platform. "Hello there," he whistled happily. The rail car eyed him and grinned. "Oh, so you're the new engine I've heard about. Pleasure to meet you, darling," purred the diesel sweetly. "You've heard of me?" asked Fabian excitedly. "Oh yes, my dear. News travels all over our railway rather quickly, even as far as the works. I was there having my spring seen to. My fitter says I'm highly sprung, you see." "I see," Fabian said, still not sure what to think of the newcomer. "But aren't you going to introduce yourself to me?" said the diesel rather abruptly. "Oh, sorry, my name is Fabian," And you are? Asked the tank engine sweetly. The diesel looked at him blankly and then burst out laughing. Fabian was surprised. She stopped when she spotted the confused look on his smoke box. Oh, good gracious, you weren't joking. Do you really not know who I am? No, answered Fabian, unsure of his own answer. The rail car's face turned a bright red with rage, and her engine growled furiously. How could you not have heard of me? Me, the only diesel rail car working on the entire railway. I'm one of a kind. Humph! She flounced away to her shed, leaving Fabian rather hurt. He soon heard the guard's whistle, and he puffed sadly away. That night in the sheds, Fabian spotted the railcar sleeping in the carriage shed with the other coaches, and he quickly parked himself next to Toby. Evening, Fabian. Something the matter? Asked Toby kindly. Toby? Who is that? Fabian asked, and he looked over at the diesel. Oh, that's Daisy. She helps Thomas and I with passenger trains. She's been away being repaired for a while now. Why'd you ask? Fabian explained about Daisy's outburst at the junction. Toby grew stern. You leave that to me. I'll deal with her. You just head to sleep now. Fabian felt much better and went to sleep smiling. The next morning, Fabian awoke to find the sheds empty. He spotted Daisy sitting at the station platform. Usually, Thomas would be waiting at the platform for Fabian to shunt a milk tanker behind him, but he had been called away to the harbour, so Daisy had to take his passengers. Fabian carefully shunted the tanker behind Daisy. She scoffed when she saw him. Oh, it's you. Toby told me I upset you yesterday. Yes, you did, said Fabian shakily. Well, all will be forgiven if you just apologise for being ignorant, smiled Daisy. Me? Ignorant? Wheezed Fabian crossly. You're the one who shouted at me for not knowing your name. Well, then I suppose all isn't forgiven then, growled Daisy, as she rolled away with her passengers and tanker, leaving Fabian fuming at the platform. For the rest of the week, Daisy would antagonise Fabian whenever she saw him, causing the tank engine to grow crosser and crosser. Who does that Daisy think she is? He complained to the others one night in the sheds. She thinks she can get away with her behaviour just because she's a rail car. I'm afraid she gets like this from time to time. It normally comes back to bite her on the buffer. Just give it time, said Thomas reassuringly. Fabian huffed crossly and went to sleep, brooding all the while. The following morning, Daisy was waiting at the platform once again for Fabian to shunt the milk behind her. Fabian puffed crossly into the yard and coupled up to the tanker. You know there's nothing stopping you from getting the milk yourself, said Fabian gruffly. Oh, please. Shunting is bad for my swerves. Not to mention it's beneath me. That's why we have silly tank engines like you to do this kind of work, giggled Daisy. Fabian had finally lost patience. Silly tank engine indeed. I'll show you. He biffed the tanker right into the back of Daisy. Then there was trouble. The tanker had smashed Daisy's back windows on impact. Glass was all over the rails. Worst of all, milk had spilt all over Daisy. Oh dear, sighed Fabian, immediately regretting what he had done. Toby came with Henrietta to take the passengers. The fat controller arrived at the station in his car. He was very cross with his engines. Fabian, I am most disappointed in you. I thought you could control trucks. I will be sending you to the shunting yard until I can trust you to manage your trucks properly. Yes, sir, said Fabian sadly. Please, sir, it's my fault this happened, not Fabian, interrupted Daisy. The Fat Controller looked to the rail car. Explain yourself, Daisy. Well, sir, I haven't treated Fabian very well. I was too caught up in my own ego. He's been very helpful and nothing but kind to everyone. I made him lose his temper as I was being very rude to him, sir. Indeed you have, although there's no point crying over spilt milk, he chuckled quietly, as did the two engines. Fabian, I am sorry for how I treated you. I should have realized we are all special in our own way. Can we be friends, please? Fabian smiled warmly. Of course we can be friends. After all, who wouldn't want to be friends with the only diesel rail car working on the entire railway? And I definitely would like a friend who is as really useful as you, chuckled Daisy, as Fabian pushed her back to the worst. Fabian and Daisy are now firm friends. Daisy was made to shunt the milk tanker onto her passenger trains for a week, while Fabian was sent to the shunting yards for a little while. Daisy can still be a bit snooty, as she's that sort of engine, but whenever she gets too big for her buffers, Fabian offers her some milk, just to keep his new friend in line. One day, Sir Topham Hatt called 3 of his engines to the yard for a special announcement.
Good morning, engines. Now I have some rather exciting news. A new engine is coming to the island to help with the shunting in the yards. She should be arriving any minute. Ah, there you are. Thomas, Percy and James, I would like to introduce to you Lydia, our newest engine.
Hey everyone!
Hi, Lydia.
Welcome, Lydia.
All right.
I hope everyone gives you a warm welcome and most importantly, that you work very hard.
Oh, thank you, sir. I'll try, sir.
Percy, could you show Lydia where the trucks are so that she can begin her work?
Yes, sir.
As the two puffed away, they didn't notice a rather annoyed-looking James. Later that day, Thomas was waiting for the signal to change, when James puffed up alongside.
That Lydia, who does she think she is, swarming into our yards? We have enough small tank engines as it is. We don't need any more racing about.
Thomas was cross.
James, at least she's passionate about her work, unlike you are. If it isn't coaches, you moan for another engine to do your jobs instead.
Well, I'm just simply too important to pull trucks. They are dirty and troublesome.
Oh. So what you're pulling now are coaches? I've never seen those sorts of coaches before. Have you, Annie and Clarabelle?
Oh dear me, no. Very filthy. Those simply aren't right for an engine that cares about his paintwork so much. Quite right, dear.
James puffed crossly away with his trucks in tow. That evening, James backed into the yards with a train of trucks.
Thank goodness I don't have to pull these horrible things on wheels tomorrow. They do ruin an engine's paintwork. Ugh.
Just then, Lydia puffed up beside him.
Oh, hello, Red Engine.
The name is James, little tank engine.
Oh, cheer up. Who's busted your buffers?
You.
Me?
Yes, you.
But I only said...
I simply don't have time to talk to small, useless engines like you. Now, if you'll excuse me, Lydia, My shed awaits me.
And James puffed away, whooshing steam in front of Lydia as he left the yard.
Hey, what was that for?
The next day, Thomas was getting coupled up to a train of salt vans when Lydia puffed sadly up to him.
Hello, Lydia. How are you finding Sodor?
Not very good, Blue Engine.
Oh dear. What's the matter?
James said that he doesn't have time to talk to little engines like me. And then he had the cheek to wish steam at me. Ugh. Maybe I really am just a useless little engine.
Cheer up, Lydia. Sometimes it takes a while for James to change his tune. He's quite nice once you get to know him. I remember when I first came to Sodor, he used to tease me to no end. Then I saved him from a nasty accident. Ever since then, James has respected me for who I am. My point is, one day he will respect you for who you are.
Thank you. That's made me feel much better. You're a good friend, Blue Engine.
You're welcome. By the way, the name's Thomas.
Later that day, Lydia was taking on water when she heard a very panicked-sounding whistle.
Help! I can't stop! Help! Somebody help!
Hold on, James. I'm coming.
Lydia, what are you...
I'm going to slow you down, James. Hold on.
Lydia grinded to a halt, a few inches away from Toad the brake van.
Hello, Mr. James. And hello, Miss Lydia.
Phew. Thank you, Lydia.
No problem, James.
I'm sorry for how I spoke to you earlier. You aren't useless at all. You're a hero.
Lydia beamed from buffer to buffer.
Oh, thank you, James. I accept your apology.
Could you, help me back to the sheds, please? My lever is broken, so I can't get home on my own.
Of course, James. You're gonna have to show me the way, though.
On the way back to the sheds, James now had a newfound respect for Lydia the shunting engine. Hi everyone, Thomas here. If you'd like to watch more, check out some more of these really useful videos and make sure to subscribe.